I'm Sharifah Hanan, who is the representative of JMSK Group from Polytechnic Ibrahim Sultan. The title of our project is TVET Educators. In order to develop a country, human resources, specifically educators, must be developed. The quality of TVET educators remain relatively low as the educators lack of practical experiences. This is actually due to less exposure in working environment in industries. Moreover, most of them are coming from engineering background, which means they are not familiar with the teaching field. Qualified and motivated educators and instructors are the key for effective learning. Efforts to strengthen TVET educators in education must therefore adopt both in terms of pre- and in-service training. The teaching profession itself needs to be reinforced as a viable and attractive career choices in developing countries. The availability of the well-trained educators is important precondition to increase the number of qualified workers. Skill, knowledge and occupational of TVET educator. To ensure the effectiveness of TVET institutions to produce highly qualified and skilled workers to industry, the theory and practical skills, knowledge and occupational of TVET educators must be enhanced in order to achieve the vision of TVET educations. For the information, most of the TVET educators enter the classroom without having industrial background. Thus, they lack of experiences in the real industrial working life. In some cases, they are educators who have working experiences in industry, but they quit their jobs and become the educators in TVET institutions. Why are these scenarios occurring? I will give you the reasons. These scenarios are happening right now because most of the graduates join and become the educators in TVET institution right after they are graduated from universities, especially for those who got scholarship during their study. For example, Ministry of Education have provided the scholarship program called Scheme Latihan Tenaga Pengajar SLTP for qualified students in universities. For those who got this sponsorship during their study, they need to serve as educators in polytechnic or college community after their graduation. In my point of view, this program is a good effort by Ministry of Education in order to generate more educators who can contribute their knowledge from universities to TVET institutions. However, fresh educators will not have the opportunity to grab working experiences in industry. Lack of working experiences in industry means that they just depends on the theory and a little practical hand on what they have learned in universities. Bear in mind, the practical exposure from the lectures in the universities are not the same as the what really happened in industries. In TVET education, the educators must have at least some experiences in industries. Even with 1 year experience, I think it's already good enough to share their working experience to the students in what really happened in industry, because the industrial experiences are something that the student cannot see and read in their textbook. The TVET institutions also need to review several aspects of their current practices. There are some aspects that need to be reviewed, such as outdated curriculum syllabus, poor facilities and infrastructures, weak industrial linkage and work-based training, limited remuneration, and also weak in career development. The TVET institution should have good industrial linkage with the industry that have similarity with the courses that being offered. Good industrial linkage with the industry will also give the advantage to the TVET institution and also the industries. It is a win-win situation for the both parties. The industries can help TVET institution by giving technical advices and supports to help the educators to enhance their teaching skills. This can be done via practical skills and positive professional attitudes in the industry to develop educators' understanding of working environment in industry. Lastly, I want to emphasize on a good remuneration. The TVET institutions must offer to their staffs a good remuneration based on their qualifications, industrial experiences, skills, knowledge, and also performances. Good rewards to the educators can improve their motivations to work harder in the future. TVET pedagogy. First of all, when we talk about TVET pedagogy, we can relate it with vocational pedagogy. What is vocational pedagogy? From UNESCO Univoc Forum, they said vocational pedagogy is the sum total of the many decisions which are vocational educators take as they teach, adjusting their approaches to meet the needs of learners, and the last one is to match the context in which they find themselves. One of the important questions that we can ask ourselves is what are the desired learning outcomes for TVET? Let me explain of those outcomes. The first one is routine expertise. Basically, routine expertise is the one who expert in their field, that the knowledge and the skill they have is gained from the experience from daily work. Routine expertise is at the core of the working competence. The routine is included discipline, profession, or game, and in fact, the educators may know the routine so well that they might even be considered as the world class in their expertise. They simply become more efficient at doing what they have always been doing, and perhaps of adding a few tricks along the way. Secondly, is resourcefulness. Beyond the familiar and routines, expert educators are able to bring to mind knowledge that is applicable to the new and unfamiliar context. The educators need to be clever and smart to overcome all the problems that occur during the lesson. The last one is the wider skills. The sort of wider skills are described variously as broader skills, competencies, dispositions, capabilities, and the last but not least is habits of mind. Employers nowadays regularly identify the employees with wider skills such as problem solving, team working, resilience, and entrepreneurialism, and etc. Wider skills are additional to high-level basic skills. All the outcomes that explained by me just a moment ago are the facts that what the educators must possess for better TVET education. Next question we need to ask is, which learning and teaching methods work best in TVET? There are many differing approaches to constructing vocational learning. We have chosen to highlight several methods in our institution which may possibly work well in a range of vocational contexts. The methods are active learning process. For example, the student is given a project using the interactive methods such as presentation, group discussion, share information, and the last one is experiment. The next method is activities are linked to research. For example, the educators give the students some references or project from the past for getting the idea to run the current project. Number 3 is interesting and challenge activities. experimentations, simulations, role plays, and using interactive software are the examples of interesting and challenge activities. As a conclusion, it must be noted that the development of standards for TVET educators is a difficult process. It is because there are only a few comparable standards available that could possibly serve as benchmarking. In this regard, every stage is challenged when attempting to develop specific standards for vocational educators. If in the future an extension is possible and feasible, these standards could provide a good starting position for encompassing in career opportunities. Therefore, we will be able to conceptualize education in general and TVET education in particular in many ways to avoid low quality education. As a positive result, we will meet the knowledge demand of innovation and higher order excellence for TVET education.